Hello, welcome to my Stitchy channel. This is Moonshine Stitchery. My name is Phoebe and you are very welcome here. Today we're going to be talking all about cross stitch. This is going to be a WIP heavy video because we are fully in the middle of Maynia. WIP stands for work in progress, so we're going to be talking all things cross stitch. My works in progress are things that I have previously started and aren't yet finished. And Maynia, in case you don't know what that is, my version of Maynia is I stitched on a different project every day of the month of May. So the last 2 weeks we've been kind of in the middle of May here. So I had a different project every day that I stitched on. I also have a finish to share with you today. It's on my 2 strands a day stitching, which pulled me through to a finish. Just the other day, it was like on the tail end of our Vegas trip that we took. We just did like a little weekend trip for some swimming fun for the kids. And so I started a new 2 strands a day piece. I also have joined a couple sals, so I have even other WIPs besides just my Maynia WIPs. So lots to share with you today on that front. Then I will have some plans. I'll share with you my plans. And I have a little bit of haul, and then at the very end we will talk about books. I've read quite a few books in the last 2 weeks, and I want to share that with you too. So that's the agenda. I hope you've been well. I hope you've been having tons and tons of stitchy time. Like I mentioned, we took a little trip to Vegas for a weekend. We just went to go relax and get a lot of sun. And the kids have 1 week left of school, so they have this week and then they're done on Friday, which feels bizarre. My college student, he's about to be a senior coming up in August when they start back up, but he's coming home this week for a week to stay. We'll see if we can keep him longer than a week. He has a summer off though, so he's gonna be busy doing all of his fun stuff. But I'm very excited to have him back home, and the kids and I have a trip planned to the local amusement park coming up in the next couple weeks. That is my Mother's Day present because it makes it so that all my kids will go do this one thing with me. They all enjoy that. So I get to have them all with me for one day, and none of them are on their phones. And we just all get to have some fun together. So we did that last year. We're going to do it again this year. It's going to be great. So yeah, that's my little life update. Oh, I cut my hair. I was ready for a change. So, yeah, that's it. So let's get going. I'm going to start with my finish, which I'm very excited about. So you have seen this every day for the past, what has it been, like 3 months or something? And I finally have a finish on Happy Halloween from Love for Cross Stitch, which is designed by Brian Jackson. This is stitched on a 28 count piece of Under the Sea Fabrics. I think it's called Boardwalk or Beach Walk. It's kind of blue and a little bit of pinks and yellows in there, but that part's very faint. It's mostly blue. So this, so I did 2 strands over 2 on the 28 count. It's a very beautiful soft Lugana. It was such a treat to stitch on. But this was my oldest WIP. Is now no longer my oldest WIP. You'll see what my oldest WIP is coming up in here in just a minute when I show you what my next 2 strands a day is. So this was so much fun to stitch on, especially after I put it into my Markup XP app, which is really helpful whenever you're doing anything with confetti. So when you're doing full coverage cross stitch or something like this, if you have a PDF, put it into your, like Carolyn Manning, I love to have in there too. So as you can see, we have the one little picture for each letter, and then we have like this background in here. And then the last like 3 or 4 days that I was doing 2 strands a day, I was doing all of the back stitch. So there's a lot of back stitch. But this was really, really fun. I super enjoyed this piece. And as I mentioned a couple of videos ago, I want to start another one from him. I already have a couple purchased that I want to start because it was just a lot of fun. But no imminent plans to start. This was a lot of back stitching. There's my wizard. You're a wizard. He's holding a skull and some kind of potion wine looking thing. There's a cauldron. So anyway, it was so fun. Look at the little snake. So I'm sad that this one is done, but I'm also really happy. You know what I mean, right? So I think for today, I'll just drape it right there. I need to get busy finishing stuff, guys. Oh, by the way, this cup right there, that says in my stitching era, that little mug. So I need to get fully finishing some stuff. I've had quite a few finishes lately, and I just have not been in the mood to fully finish anything because I just want to stitch. You know, what a terrible problem to have. So that is my finish, and let me show you my next oldest WIP. What's going to be my next 2 strands a day stitching. And dun, da, 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 we have red Cardinals from Forest Embroidery. And this is actually a smaller sampler. Like, this time when I picked this up, so I've maybe put like 3 days into this so far. And this time when I picked it up, I was like, okay, let's finish going across the top and see how wide this goes. And it only goes to there. So this is really not going to take me that long at all. I think it does go a little deeper down than where the crease in this fabric is. By the way, this is Historic Green from Fabric and Flair. It's a 40 count, and I am using the called for Forest Embroidery flosses because thanks to Shelly from Key X Stitch, she sent me the Forest flosses, which I didn't know when I started this project were super important to have. So I love how it's looking now that I'm using Shelly's threads. Thank you again, Shelly, you're a lifesaver. And so I'm doing 1/2 on this 40 count. And so yeah, this time, the last 3 days, I just pulled this over, put this down, and then I've just been working on the bird. But it's just 2 strands a day, and then you put it down. And if you're looking for a way to like work through your WIPs, but you find that you are always just wanting to move on to the new thing or whatever, grab your oldest WIP, put 2 strands a day into it, and before you know it, it'll be done. So that is the new one that you're gonna see till it's done, and it won't be hanging around near as long as my Mirabilia and my Happy Halloween from Love for Cross Stitch. So there's that. Before I start getting into my Maynia WIPs, I want to talk about 2 stitch alongs and that weren't a part of my Maynia, but I did stitch on them in the last 2 weeks. So Andrew the Running Stitcher, he is such a favorite of mine. He's started a new sal called Whip Into Shape, and he's a marathon runner. Right now he's currently training for a marathon, and so to prepare for that, he is keeping track of all the miles that he runs in his marathon, and then he wants, if you're interested, to pick a WIP and stitch on it that many stitches. So like if he ran, I think he just did a marathon over the weekend and he ran 13 miles, so that equals 130 stitches. So for every mile you run, you stitch 10 stitches. So I like to see how many he's done at the end of the week and then stitch that many all at once. And I don't really count my stitches. So what I did was I figured out, oh, I'm doing Fruits of Plenty, which is the one that he's doing for his Whip Into Shape. And I love this WIP so much. This is from Modern Folk Embroidery. And I am using, oh, I dropped one. Gentle Art, Deep Sea, and Carriage Black. Those are my 2, whoops, my 2 contrasty colors for this WIP, and here's how they look on this fabric. I over dyed, this is an older WIP, this was a couple years ago, this piece of fabric that has this nice lime modeling on it that I thought would look really fun with these 2 colors. So basically I have found that on this 40 count I can do about 55 to 60 stitches from 1 strand of pre-cut floss, and I'm just doing 1/2 on the 40 count. So I already know that if he has run like 3 miles, I would need to do a half of one of these, or that's why I usually wait till the end of the week and see how much he's done, because then I just divide it by 60 and I know how many strands to do, and then I don't have to count. So if that helps you out, if you want to use my number, I can get about 60 stitches from 1 strand. So this time, in the last 2 weeks, I started with him right when he started. And so I've been in here, and then I put that down. I didn't touch this at all. And then I pulled this over. This is in here now. This is new. Some of this is new. So I will put up a picture up here, and then you can see my side-by-side. And I'll do that each time. So Andrew is training for like the whole summer, right, Andrew? And so I'm gonna get a ton of progress on this. So join in and pick a WIP that you wanna get some progress on. And it's really fun to see. I mean, I enjoy running as well. I don't run that much, but it's fun to get that encouragement seeing how much he's running and stuff too. So love that. So Andrew, I'm playing along as well. Oh, on my nails today, this is a new polish coming out from Moonshine Manny next, the first Friday through Monday of June. This is called the White Lotus. It's a magnetic polish. So that's what's on my nails today. So it's not available yet, but it's coming out in June for the polish pickup event. So anyway, in case you're wondering. So that is my Whip into Shape WIP. Okay, and the other stitch along I want to share with you, because I got some progress on it, is my Anne Grimshaw. And I'm stitching this on 46 count barrow from Moonshine Stitchery. And I'm stitching this with Heidi and Michael. Heidi from Whips and Kits, Michael from Davis Quilting Stitching. Whenever you hear me say Heidi and Michael, that's what I'm talking about. And we're stitching this together, and whoa, look at that. Okay, so I dyed my own floss for this. And so it's like, it's mostly an almost black, but then as you can see, there's pops where the indigo is showing through a little bit more than other spots. And I used cotton DMC white, and then I over dyed it. And here's how it's looking. So I started in the top right-hand corner. And so we have stitchy zooms on Mondays, and I've been stitching on this on our Monday zooms the last 2 weeks. So I love that one. Anyway, and if you go check out Michael and Heidi's videos, we all started in different spots, so you can see the different places that we're getting going on this project. So absolutely love this. And oh, I have a needle in there still. Barrow is one of the fabrics that's currently on my website. I have to see if it's in stock in 46 count. It might not be, but I'll go take a look. And I am planning to restock things this week if you want to take a look this week. But actually, let me share with you a few other shop things real quick. So I did have a request to carry some of my colors in Lugana. So I have 4 of my shades in 28 count Lugana now. This is Angel. This is one of the 2 blues on my website. This one's more of like a gray blue, and it actually turned out more blue on the, here's to compare it to this white that I'm wearing, this cream color. It turned out a little bit more blue in the Lugana, which I thought was interesting. So I have some of that, and then 2 of our grays. We have Cobblestone and Footloose. So here's for a comparison of those, so you can see the color differentiation. Sorry for the glare. They're already packaged up, so. Cobblestone has some purple in it, and Footloose is more tan with gray. So there's those. So if you're a Lugana stitcher, and then the last one I did in Lugana for right now is Grain. So this is a really earthy brown, which is also on the website in 40 count, I believe, unless it's sold out right now. But, you know, if you just check back occasionally, you'll see which things are in stock and what's been restocked. And I try to post on my socials when I do a restock. So there's 28 count Grain. And then I have a new 32 count because I started my newest Mira on this color from Moonshine Stitchery. This is Evergreen, and so I have 3 more pieces of this on my website if you are interested in some 32 count. I think there's a few other colors of 32 count in there, but this is the newest one, and this is just a really lovely slightly blue green, like Evergreen. And I'm stitching one of my Maynia pieces was a new start, and I'm stitching it on this, so I'm going to share that with you in just a minute. But links to where you can purchase my linen, where you can purchase my nail polish, all that stuff is in the description bar below. Now we're going to get into Maynia. So we're starting on May 4th. My number 4 project in my Maynia is the swans from Cottage Garden Samplings. I don't know if you can tell, but I got a ton done on this on that one day of stitching. So like most of this is new, I feel like. And then I did get some done in the swan, more done in this house, but mostly I was working up here. And I think I put in these little splashes below the swans. And you probably saw that Top Knot Stitcher has the Cottage Garden Samplings pre-order ready to go for the next year. She has 12 more patterns releasing, so that's very exciting in this series. The first one's gonna be a wolf. So anyway, this is stitched on some Picture This Plus, I think this is 16 count Ada, and I don't recall right now what the color is, but it's the same fabric that I stitched the fox on. So that was my first one, and I'm using like half of the called fors, half from stash on this. On the 5th of May, I stitched on my Golden Delicious, and I think that my Stitchy journal says that I hadn't pulled this out since last year in May, which is really bad considering how much I love this project, but that's how it goes sometimes. I also love, love, love this linen. I need to get a super mauvey linen up on my website. I have a number of them that I'm stitching things on, but nothing that's been reproduced for the website yet. So, oh, I have a needle in here. So this is Golden Delicious from the Artsy Housewife, and I'm doing the dark version, and I'm using the called for flosses as a suggestion, and then I kitted up from stash. So what is new from last time? I believe I was working in here, getting this all the way done, this part, and then adding some more of these little plants in, and then this, and this, I believe, is all new. I maybe had like a tiny bit of the moon in there, but yeah. So that's what I was able to get done in the one day that I was stitching on this. So this is on my Maynia board, and so it just didn't get rolled last year, I guess. So everything that's on my Maynia list has twice the amount of chance to get rolled as all my other regular WIPs. And I draw random projects at the end of each video. That's what I'm talking about, that the chance to get rolled. So kind of like WIP Go, but it's just for my own self, like for my own projects. And then I don't plan like out ahead what are the options. It's just kind of pulled from everything. Back to back purple fabric stitching. That was a 40 count, by the way, for Golden Delicious, and this one is as well. This is Toil and Trouble from Plum Street Samplers, but instead of being a mauvey red toned purple, we've got these indigo purples in a couple different shades on this dirty ivory. Another needle in this one. Okay, so what did I do this time? Let me put my needle right there for a second. Okay, so I believe this time I finished out that. Oh, primarily I got all the words in now, so I don't think that there's any words missing. And then I did the witch, or started the witch, and the little thingy that's flying behind her. So I love this project. It's super, super fun. 40 count, and again with this one, there's maybe 1 or 2 called for flosses and the rest is from stash. And I love it. Here's the whole linen. It's really, really fun. So that is my day number 6 stitch from Plum Street Shrimpers. The next day I deviated from my plan a little bit. This was an open day, so I was able to put in one of my previous WIPs, and I was gonna put in something else, and then when I got to it, I decided I wanted to put in Stacy Nash Big Blue House Pinkeep. Because I was watching Lizzie the Stitcher, who I love. Hi, Lizzie. And by the way, I'm sure you're already subscribed, but if you're not, go subscribe and go watch her most recent video. Wow, what a just treasure trove of stitching. She has so many finishes in there, so many beautiful projects. She has things finished differently as well, like if you want to mix it up a little bit. And you should just be watching her stitch anyway, but just like a whopper of a video. So, so good. So all the things that I mentioned will be linked down below, so you can just go click. All right, here's my flosses. I kit up from stash whenever, usually, mostly I kit up from stash. So my Big Blue House is going to be Big Blue Lyrebird Walk from Cottage Garden Threads. So it's a big blue greenhouse, and I love it. So here's where I'm at. And this time, what did I do? I just kind of bebopped around, I think. I put in a little bit more in here, but then I added this bright green, and then I was building this house some more. So, yeah. I got a good amount done that day. It was pretty good. This is a piece of 46 count that I didn't dye at all. This was like, you know how in Hobby Lobby they have 46 count embroidery linen? That's what this is, and it works fine. It's just a little tiny, is this like a 1/16 of a yard or something like that? So, yes, perfect for little projects like this. So I love this, and this is now on my Maynia board, so it will get called more often, and I'm very excited to have this piece done. And speaking of Lizzie, she is starting, I started this with her last year for her birthday in June. She's gonna start another Stacy Nash, I think one of the animal crackers. And Liz, I'm gonna start Clovis with you. I'm very excited. It's gonna be my first animal cracker. So now I just have to decide, do you guys like your animal crackers on 40 count, or do you like to go a little bit bigger? Lizzie, I'm gonna watch your video again and see. She has a number of them done, you guys. You have to go check it out and see. But did you do yours on 40, Lizzie? I'm trying to remember, because I really like the size of yours. They look so cute. So I don't want it to be too small, but then, you know, if you make it too big, then it doesn't give you that cute little miniature feel. So anyway, I'm Goldilocks here. I just, not too big, not too small. I want it just right. I'm stitching this on a 28 count linen. This is my day 8. This is Abby Rose Designs for Where Your Treasure Lies, and I decided to put it on this linen, and it's just huge, but that's fine. I think this is like smoky white, the printed fabric from Zweigart, and so I picked one of my like smaller sampler pieces to put it on this big one, but it's so big. Anyway, I'm stitching this 1/2 on the 28 count, so having a more primitive look, and this is all of the called for Weeks Dye Works, I think, and I really like it. So I got all the words in there this time, and then is that all I did? I probably put in like this is probably new, you know, I just did like a little bit of something else, but mostly it was the words. So that is my day 8. And then day 9, we jump to one of my biggest pieces, one of my blankets. This is Ann Dale from Shakespeare's Peddler, and I'm stitching this on this piece of fabric that I dyed, which is a very light kind of pistachio color, and I'm using the called for NPIs. So what did I do this time? I think all I did the one day that I was stitching this was extend these squiggly borders. I extended this one all the way to the edge, turned the corner, and then went down with it, because there's quite a jump from row 1 to row 2. One of the reasons that this project is so big is there's like really big spaces, so it's kind of hard to make the jump to the next row. So I needed to pull this down so that I can base my jump off of the side border. But I love this piece. It is so stunning. This is another one I'm stitching with Heidi and Michael. And I know Nerissa has this one finished, and a bunch of you are stitching this, but this was my back to school sal two Saturdays ago, 2 years ago. So this is also my day 9 for Maynia. So it is going to be like that big. It's gonna take forever. I think Sean calls it a 10-year WIP. So, but that's okay because that means Anne gets to just chill with me for 10 years. Which sounds like a good time to me, so yeah. So anyway, 40 count, 1/2 with the called for NPIs, which I love. Okay, so here's my new start. This is the only WIP that was a new start in Maynia this year, in the last 2 weeks. The very first thing I started this year was also a new start because it was part of the Blackbird series I was working on. So here's the piece of Moonshine Stitchery Evergreen I was talking about. Here's how it looks when it's out of the packaging. So this is what I'm gonna stitch Mary Mary on. So here's Mary Mary, and I wanted to put it on green. But I want it to be significantly different than the greens that are called for in the piece. There's actually a lot of colors called for in here, and I was surprised by that. So this is gonna be 2/2. And this is one of the specialty flosses, and this one is. And I think that there's only 2, and the rest are DMCs. So I started this sitting poolside at the Mandalay Bay pool in the 110-degree weather. No, it was like 102. But in the blazing sun and I will always remember where I was when I started this because I could barely see. It was so bright. And I was sitting there, and like I went to get some nice sun, right? But then you're like, okay, this is too much sun. And I hadn't got out of the sun yet. So where I had picked to sit on this day, the sun wasn't going away anytime soon, not behind a building or anything. So that's all right. But I love it. And I was also listening to Tom Lake while I was stitching this. That's one of the books I'm gonna share with you later. One of my 5-star reads in the last 2 weeks. I had a couple of them. So there's Mary Mary, and guess what? She's not my oldest WIP, so this is not going to be my 2 strands a day anytime soon. So I won't be stitching on Mirabilia every day for a year like I was with, okay, it wasn't a whole year, but it was a long time with my last Mirabilia. So if you want to stitch Mary Mary on the same fabric as I am, there are still 3 pieces on the website if you want to snag one of those. Okay. And pretty much everything on there is in a fat quarter size, by the way. There's a few specialty cuts, but it says it like in the description or the title. So day 11 was Halloween at Hawk Run Hollow. This is just on a piece of plain Newcastle flax. So this is 40 count. And again, I was like, okay, we're gonna get all of the words done. So all the words in the first squares are done. As you can see, I did this square first, then I popped up to this. And I'm pretty close to finishing this square. So there's a ghost that's gonna go in right here, and my floss is that ghost. But, you know, next time. And, oh, I put in these guys. I believe this was, we were still on the Vegas trip when I was doing this, or it was like on the drive home or something. So I put in the spider webs, I finished the words, I put in some more of the tombstones, and like I said, it's almost done, so close to finish on that one. And then I think I'm gonna move this way and do this block next. So this is with the Call for DMCs on 40 count. This is Halloween at Hawk Run Hollow from Carriage House Samplings. Another probably 10-year WIP with how that is on my Maynia and has been for years, and I still am going so slow on it, but that's okay. Next for day 12, we have Emmeline Hotchkiss from Crossstitch Antiques. This one I think is a 36 count, and I started this when I saw Kim the Contented Needleworker start it, and it was just so adorable. And I've got, okay, it's not dangling, it was just sticking in there, so I can take that out. I find all the needles when I'm filming my videos. So what did I do this time? Again, this is a piece of fabric dyed by me. If you wanted something similar to this currently on my website, This is kind of a lighter version of grain. It's a very oatmeal color. I'm trying to think. Maybe go with like beach. Footloose would be a little bit grayer. Okay, so this time I think I finished these motifs. Finish. Like they were all started, but they all had more to do. And then I just kept going this way. So did a lot of work on this row. So this one, I just love how these colors look together up here in this alphabet. I love the color combo. So I would say these are half and half called for and half kit up from stash. But like the two reds that are in here, let me just show you my flosses. So I think Grecian Gold is called for. Maybe that's the only one that's called for. I'm using Cinnamon Twist. That one's gonna be like the brownie red. Gloriana Baby Corn is in here. Baby corn. We've got English Ivy for the darker green. And then I've got a Thread Colors in here for the lighter red. Gentle Art Wood Rose for the brown. I made it more pinky. Okay, Cupid is my really strong red. And then the last one is Lily Pad for the lighter green. But a really, really fun palette. Okay, so I take that back. I said it was half and half, but I think it's just Grecian Gold. So there's that, 1/2, I think on 36 count. So then after I popped in the stitch along that I started with Lizzie the Stitcher, I thought I really want to pop in another one of my stitch alongs to my Maynia pieces to make sure it gets done. So this is my stitch along I'm doing with Laurel from I Am a Stitch Nerd and Jan from Hoop It Up with Jan. Jan's already done, but Laurel and I are still plotting along, and this is Dwelling Place from Teresa Kogut. And I'm using, I believe, all my own flosses. I mean, they're not all ones that I've dyed. I think there's a few of mine in there, but when I say my own, I mean just kit up from stash. So it's such a fun palette. So had a little oopsie on this one. Laurel, Jan, look at that. I got here and I was thinking that this pattern ended here. I was thinking that it was gonna make the turn right here. I don't know why I thought that, because look at the other side. It's gonna be fine. I gave myself 1.5 inches over here. You know, that's already a small margin, but I'm gonna lace and frame my own piece, so 1.5 inches, no problem. But now I've got 1/4 inch on this side. So Heidi, thank you for the advice. She said just stitch a piece of fabric over here, which I will, and then it'll make it so I can lace it myself. So, you know, I don't have time to stress about stuff like this. It's not a big deal. It's really not. Now, if this had gone completely off the edge, you know, I would have probably had to figure out where I could chop the piece, but I had a lot done. I mean, that for me is a lot. Somebody might think, oh, that's just a start, but that's not a start for me. That's a lot. So, I believe the reason that I made this mistake is because I think this is a 36 count and I was thinking it was a 40 count. And so when I measured it, when I did the math, instead of measuring it physically with a tape measure, I did the math on what a 40 count measures out to, and yeah, so that's my problem. So I could fit there. So 36 count and 40 count, they are all the same dimension inches wide, but you're not gonna get the same number of stitches. So that's why that happened. But it's fine. It's totally fine. Just take it from me, your cross stitch is supposed to be fun, and it's not supposed to give you something extra to stress about. We've had a lot of stresses in the last couple weeks too. Couple of emergency trips to the hospital, just different things. So you know what? it's supposed to be stress relieving, not stress inducing. So anyway, I love this. I love this. I have another Teresa Kogut start planned coming up here pretty soon. Also at the very beginning of June, which I'm very excited about. I'll share that with you later, coming up on plans. So here's where I got to. This time, I believe that I finished, what did I do? I was working over here. Oh, I was working on this. This is all new. This, like that, and making the turn. That's what I was working on. And then this guy. So, and this piece of, I guess I probably put this guy in. So, that's where I'm at, and I love it. So this is Dwelling Place. Another stitch along that got popped into Maynia is my stitch along with Heidi. We started this when we were in Paris 2 summers ago. This is Coquelicots Reflea de Soie. I'm stitching this with the called for Soie d'Alger, and it's incredible. Just really rich colors playing together that I normally don't put orange and green right next to each other, but I love it. And they soften it out with this teal. It's just so beautiful. So this is only how big it's gonna be. So I just need to, you know, fill in that and then finish up what's missing in a few of these spots. So, you know, that's not gonna be a ton more stitching. So this will be one of the first things to come off my Maynia board probably. This is a piece of 42 count. This is very similar to Angel, if you want something like this on my website. And so I'm doing 1/2. These Soie d'Algers are very plump. It looks like I'm doing 2-strand stitching on this 40 count, and I just adore this one. So, and once I'm done with it, this is gonna be my first, you know, that thing, that little pillow you make where you fold it. I can see Sarah from Handmade by Sarah W. talking about it. Biscornu, woohoo! I'm a visual learner. I have to like see something sometimes in order to get it. I could see her talking about when she did one. So anyway, I'm gonna do that with this. And so I love that. So 40 count 1/2 on Coquelicots by Reflets de Soie. Another Teresa Kogut made it onto my Maynia. This is Remember Me. And this is, I think all the week's dye works that were called for that I had are in here, and then any of the other flosses are from Stash. So, this is being stitched on a piece of blue. This is more like North Wind blue on my website rather than Angel. It's a little bit more indigo in there, not as much gray. And I love it, it's so beautiful. So what did I do this time? I finished putting in all of the outlining of this biggie flower. This flower motif has 3 colors in the petals. So you have the outlining color, and then the inner color, and then the middle of the petal color. Really, really pretty shading going on. So I did the whole outside color, and then I did this guy. And I was doing a reread of a book series, a young adult fantasy series. I'm preparing to release my part 2 of Book Boyfriends collection, which is a nail polish thing. And I was trying to see if that series, the male main character was deserving of being in part 2 Book Boyfriend, and I think that I've decided no. But I had to reread the whole series, you know, just to make sure, you know, it was such a chore. So that's what I was reading while I was stitching on this one that day. So yeah, this one, is this one a 36 count? I think it's 40 count. It's either 36 or 40 count. With half called fors. We go in halfsies. We're almost to the end here. Okay, so next up we have the Vanity Sampler from Hello from Liz Matthews on another piece of Moonshine Stitchery. This is not a shade that's currently on the website, but it's pretty similar to, it's kind of a more creamy version of Landslide. So anyway, this is the Vanity Sampler inspired by Cam the Stitcher's Vintage Goth conversion. When I started stitching with it, I decided I wanted to switch up a few things. So just for other things to be pulled out more. Like some of her flosses that I really liked, I was like, oh, I'm not getting to use this color very much. So I switched it and moved it into a more prominent color. So this is where I'm at. Really not, this is a slow going project for me. First of all, this was a restart, not this time around. But I don't make a ton of progress on this, but this color, this bright magenta fuchsia that she converted in here, I mean, it just makes the whole piece. So you've got that color, and then you've got it balanced with these beautiful teals and deep, like blacky greens, black green teals. So at least that's how I did mine. And then so I went off of her DMC list, and then I pulled it from flosses that I've over dyed and a few flosses from other dyers. So this is a 40 count, 1/2, and I still just really love this palette. It's unlike anything I'm stitching, but I just don't, when I have this out, I'm never like, oh, I just want to stitch more of this design. Does that make sense? So, but I still really love it. So there's the Vanity Sampler, and we are down to just one more. All right, so it is Oh Joyous Day. And this one you've seen a lot lately because it's just been rolled a lot. And this time I did this whole bird. So some of the bird was pre-existing, but I finished it out. So there's nothing left missing on him. He does have like a little twig in his mouth that's missing, but the actual bird is done. So last time this was out, I did this whole house. This time I did this whole bird. So if this looks large and in charge, that is because it is. Sarah's done with hers, and mine is this big piece of 28 count linen. And it's over dyed by me with some rosy peaches, and I really love stitching on this. And because it's 28 count and this was an older start for me, I did 2 strands, and it's all, again, there might be like 1 or 2 call for flosses in here, but it's just really jumping out at you because I did 2 strands on here. So that alphabet's all the way in. I need to do all the over 1. Maybe the next time I get this out, I'll do all this over 1 stitching here. I think I have to decide what I'm putting in there. Is this meant to be a birth sampler? Is that why it's like Oh Joyous Day? Maybe I'll put one of my kids in there, but like, how do you choose? You know, when you have more than one kid, how do you choose which child to feature if you can't put them all on there? So anyway, I think this is just one of the coolest samplers. When I saw Sarah stitching it, I was like, I have to start that with you. I have to start it pronto. So then I did, and it is on my Maynia, so it comes out more frequently. So I believe, what is there, guys? There's just one more main band under here. But this is so fun. It's so fun because there's so many different things to stitch. It just changes up all the time. So I love it. And how funny is that bird? Like, what is this? It's so funny. Anyway, I love it. So there's that one, and that is the final project I stitched on. The final WIP that I have to share with you, we're next going to get into plans. So that brings me to, I think, the 18th in my Maynia. So I'm going to share with you the 19th through the 25th now, like what my prospective plans are. And then we'll go from there. Okay, so here's last year's Maynia. All of these bottom projects, none of them have been finished. So I don't need to pick anything new except for this last day. So we are here, Bethlehem. Oh, psych. Okay, so I said Joyous Day was day 18. It's actually day 17. So today is the 18th when I'm filming this, and I'm gonna stitch on Bethlehem by Imaginating. I'm gonna put all the projects up here when I talk about them. This is actually pretty close to being done. I only have a third of it left. And I'm stitching this like up and down with a sulky thread. And because I don't have to change threads at all, it's pretty quick. And so I'm just going up and down through the pattern since I don't have to switch it up. So that'll get done pretty quickly. It's a small piece. Okay, Tomorrow, I'm gonna stitch on the Vintage Christmas alphabet. I think I'm in block E, E for elf, I think, and I probably will be able to finish that up tomorrow. We'll see. I have a lot of work I need to do tomorrow. But we'll see, you know, because stitching takes priority, clearly. Okay, day 20 is my Leona's sewing box. This is also very close to a finish. The thing that's kind of holding me up on that is I need to plot out my Grandma Leona's name. So her name, her maiden name is Leona Bartlett. So I need to plot that out for the pattern. And then I need to figure out for the house, since I'm doing it monochromatically, I need to figure out where in the house I'm gonna have breaks to be, because it's like a full coverage house. So I need to figure out what parts I'm leaving out so that you can actually tell it's a house. You know, where the negative space is gonna be, is what I'm trying to say. And then on the 21st, Hannah Campbell. You guys know what Hannah Campbell looks like. There she is. The 22nd, a year of celebrations. I believe I need to start the July square, so I'm very excited about that. And then the 23rd is Cardinal Points by Long Dog Samplers. Very excited for that one. A lot of colors. It's a ton of confetti stitching because it's like 30 Gentle Art colors or something. It's a rainbow piece. And then, so that's actually perfect as we're coming into Pride. It could be my Pride piece, my Cardinal Points. So, and then the 24th, I'm doing Hannah Elliott, which looks like this. Another gorgeous piece from Needlework Press. And then on the 25th, through the magic of editing, this is what I'm gonna stitch on the 25th. That'll be my final Maynia piece for 2025. So I need to update this list and get all that stuff into here. And then this is the list that I go off when I draw random projects. So let me look at my calendar. That means that I will finish up with Maynia a week from today. So I just have one more week of Maynia, and on the 25th, next Sunday, I will stitch on that last piece. So on the 26th, I will be back to my regularly scheduled programming. So I have a specific stitch day on the 30th. 30th of every month I stitch on a piece for my daughter Joy. Her birthday is on the 30th. And as you know, if you were here last time, I finished Blackberry House from Plum Street Samplers. I'm so in love with that piece. I think one of you guys told me that I'm missing the outlining on one of the berries. I need to go put that in. But I need to get that ironed and framed. I'm so excited for that piece. But that means I get to start a new Joy piece, and let me show you what it's gonna be. Are you shocked? Are you shocked? I picked her out a stocking. So we have family stockings. They're just like knitted stockings that I got at, you know, Michael's 15 years ago or something, where they all kind of match. But I think the next project I want to do for her is a stocking. So I've been watching Amy Love Toads do some for her kids, and there's a few other channels doing these full coverage stocking pieces, and I am going to start one, and we'll just see how it goes. So this is that adorable nighttime sleigh ride to get your family Christmas tree, and it's just so pretty. I love it so much. And it's a dimensions kit, so sleigh ride at dusk it says. So it's all the dimensions goodness with the crunchy Ada. If it weren't gonna be full coverage, I would probably dye this Ada just to soften it up and stuff. So I guess I could wash it. And then, you know, there's all my flosses. So we're gonna give it a go. So this will not get done in a year, because if I'm only stitching on it one day a month, yeah, that's not gonna happen. But it'll still be fun to stitch on for her. So, and I'm an OG dimensions kit stitcher. If you're new to my channel, I used to like exclusively stitch dimensions kits monogamously since I was like 12 years old, until I discovered Flosstube in 2020. So that's that. And this is bringing me back. So anyway, that's one of my plans. So that'll be on the 30th. On the 31st, I'm gonna stitch on something Halloween-y, so let's do this. And then on the 1st, I have a new start with Heidi and Michael. Actually, I forgot to start. We have 2 new starts that week. Well, technically, the 1st is going to be the next day that I film. So I'm gonna tell you what it's gonna be on the 1st, but I don't have it kitted up all the way yet. But that's gonna be a start next week on the day that I film. But I'm gonna tell it to you in case you wanna start with us. Okay, so let's backtrack. On the 26th, which is Memorial Day, Heidi and Michael and I are starting the American Sampler from Plum Street Samplers. It looks like this. I'm dyeing a special linen for it. It should be here tomorrow so I can dye it and get it in the mail to them. And I will also list some on the website in case you want to use that linen as well. If you want to start that with us, we're starting it on Memorial Day. So on the 26th, next Monday, okay? So we're gonna be doing ours on 40 count, and I will probably be kitting up from stash. I absolutely will be getting up from stash because I haven't purchased any threads yet, but that's the way I like to do. Okay, that's on the 26th. On the 1st of June, if you would like to start with us, this is what we're starting. So this is Wren Sampler from Teresa Kogut, and look at these little wrens. So Heidi's granddaughter's name is Wren, spelled just like that. And Heidi and Michael both love pink. Now when I look at this fabric, that to me looks like rust red. That does not look pink to me. But Heidi and Michael say it's pink. So I'm gonna be dyeing a special fabric for this as well. I will also have that on the website. If you follow my Instagram for Moonshine Stitchery, it's just at Moonshine Stitchery. My personal Instagram, which you see family life stuff on there, that's Phoebe Moon 14. I will probably pop it up on in both stories. But anyway, if you're interested. So, look at him. Oh my goodness. Or her. So that is also part of my plans. The next day that I film, it will be the day I'm starting this. So I won't have any progress on it yet, but so I'll remind you about it again then. Okay, so that brings us, that's all of my like specific things I'm doing. So if I have a day where I don't have a specific project I want to work on that day, then I like to randomly draw some stuff so I can be like, oh, I already know if I need something to stitch on, I'm gonna go to that. So you guys know the way I do this is my random number generator. I can change the number to 25, and then it'll, no, not 225, what the heck? 25. And so it'll pick me a random number from my Maynia to stitch on. I love that color. Number 1. Okay, so I'm gonna be stitching on All the Hills Echoed, which you saw in my last video. It's the next one in the Blackbird Designs Loose Feathers for the Birds. It looks like this. So that's great because I only got a little start on that on day 1 of Maynia, so I need to get a little bit more progress going on that. So that, you'll see that if I have a day where I need something to stitch on. And then I also pull from all of my WIPs. So that's on the Tiny Decisions app. That is not it. That was so weird. This is what my WIPs wheel looks like, but it had like food. It had a whole bunch of food in there. It's like it reset to like a randomly generated wheel. That was so weird. So, okay, so if I don't get Leona's sewing box done, I will pull it out again and I will like get it done. That's my goal. My WIP wheel wants me to make sure that I get Leona's box done. Her sewing box. So yay, that's very exciting because that means after I finish that piece, so I have one already done for my maternal grandmother, that Leona is my paternal grandmother. And after that, I get to decide, should I go further back? Should I do my grandma's mother? Her name is Honor Lou, and that is my daughter's name. And so that'd be really fun to do one for her. Or I could come forward and make sure that I have one for my mother done. But my mother is still with us, so I think I'm probably gonna go back in time, which means I need to go back in time. No, it means I need to pick a project. So, all right, those are my plans. That's a lot of plans. Okay, let's talk haul. Just a little bit of a few things that came in. This buttons and beads, just rando, I picked up. This is the Haunted Cottage, and I just think it's really, really cute. So that's a random piece of haul. I picked up this, one of the only things I've purchased from Market, Joy, because my daughter's name is Joy. I have a big long list of all the things I wanted to pick up from Market, but I just didn't go. I didn't go, you know, didn't go bananas on my Market shopping this year, but that is really cute. From Shakespeare's Peddler, Adorbs. Then I picked up Clovis so I can start her with Lizzie. So I'll remind you again of this start next video, because I think I'm gonna start it on the 2nd, since I have 2 planned starts for the 1st, but I only want to do one thing, one start a day. So I'm gonna start her on the 2nd, and she's so cute, oh my gosh. And she has this little teapot, and she's a badger, right? Are you a badger? Okay, so the called for is 36 counts, so maybe that's what I should do then. 36 counts, since that's what's suggested. And is it 1/2? I think that's what I should do. Even if for some reason it's calling 2/2, I don't think I will. Okay, then, oh, I picked up this. I think this was also new for our Market. I love Jan Hicks stuff. That's why I love doing the vintage Christmas alphabet. But that was so striking to me. It does look pretty similar to the red Cardinals that I'm already stitching, but whatever. Then I picked up this because I had to. So Peace on Earth from Leela's Studio. So I guess this was new for Market too. There's so much to look at in here, guys. I'm just giving you a small look at it because you've already seen this a bunch probably. But there's so many little treasures in here. So, okay, that's my haul. I have been catching up on my Flosstube lately. A couple of Flosstubers that I just, when I listen to them, it just soothes me. You guys know I've talked about Laura from I Stitch Birds. She's just very, she's just very real and very vulnerable with her audience, talking about her mental health and just different things she's going through. And I just love listening to her talk. Her accent is so beautiful. So even though I don't stitch a lot of same things as Laura, it's just very soothing content for me. So I love her channel and she's wonderful. Hi, Laura. Another channel that just does that exact same thing for me is Sean the Periwinkle Stitcher. I could just have it on all day. Sean, you're wonderful. I love all your stitching. It's absolutely stunning, but also I love listening to your channel. It brings me peace. These are some channels that bring me peace. So yes, in case you haven't caught them in a minute, go catch a video. A new channel for me this last couple weeks. His channel name is Crossstitch Antiques. He just has one video. He has some beautiful cross stitch, but also he talks a lot about music in his channel, and it's just more like a chat about life kind of channel. Like there was some stitching, but there wasn't that much stitching in there, but I actually just liked listening to him talk and share, and I found a couple of new bands that are really enjoyable to me because of his channel, so I appreciated that. And another channel that just is really soothing, and I love your channel, is Jem from Stitching Jem. I love to pop her on, and it's just like a really, really feel-good place for me. So I also love yellow. So I love looking at all the stuff you're doing, Jim. All right, so that's all the cross stitch we're gonna talk about. I'm now gonna share a few books that I've read in the past couple weeks. So if you are not interested in books, then I will see you back in 2 weeks on June 1st. Well, so it'll probably be June 2nd by the time it goes up. It'll be June already. Okay, so now we're gonna talk about books. So if you're not interested, I will see you next time. All right, the last thing that I talked about was the love hypothesis. I can't remember if I'd finished that whole thing in the last video, but I did end up liking it. I think I gave it like a 4 out of 5. I generally really like Ali Hazelwood's romantic comedies. This one was less comedy, so for me, it brought it down a little bit, but I thought it was cute. Spice level was like a 3.5 out of 5. So heads up on that one. If a book is a romance and it's not closed door, I like to tell you if there's any spice so that if you're not interested, then you can avoid it. Next I read A Psalm for the Wild Built by Becky Chambers. This was a very short, really soothing read. The basic synopsis is there's this tea monk. In this culture, there is a occupation where a person can be a monk and their job is to serve tea. They meet the customer, they find out like what they're going through, they serve them a tea that would help their specific thing that they're going through at that time, and then they just let them sit, drink the tea, and talk. So it's kind of like a therapist, but they're not really giving, it's this culture's therapist. So as the book goes on though, the person, even though they've grown in success in their craft, in their skill, in their career, but they're not finding contentment in it. They're still feeling restless and they're like, why don't I feel like I'm doing enough? Why don't I feel like I've accomplished enough? Even though I'm very accomplished, like what is this feeling? So they decide to take a journey out into the wilderness basically, where they encounter a robot. And robots and humans were coexisting at one time, but they separated like 200 years before, because the robots were kind of like subservient to the humans and they became totally self-aware and wanted to do their own thing. So they split and separated, like physical separation, so that no humans could abuse any kind of power over the robots. So anyway, these two cultures, they haven't been around each other in 200 years, and now these two peoples from the two different cultures are, and it's like they're learning about each other and they're sharing, and through that, both of the two people learn a lot about themselves. And it's, like I said, it's a short read. It's really nice and sweet, but it's a thinker, because a lot of times, I don't know if you're like me, but I'll feel like, oh, if I didn't get enough done today, like I didn't, this day maybe wasn't that great because I didn't get enough done. You know, I don't have enough under my belt to show that what I accomplished, yada, yada, yada. And the book is about that, and kind of like examining that idea, and why are we kind of like ruled by that thought. So it's a thinker, and I liked it. I thought it was really sweet. Okay, next I started an Echo in the Bone, and I think that's book 8 in the Outlander series, and I started it. It looks like I got about like 2 or 3 hours in, and then I put it down and read a whole bunch of other stuff. So basically, well, no, I don't want to tell you what's happening in the series in case you haven't started it, because then there'll be spoilers. So anyway, started book 8. Then I listened to a free book, and it was called An Optimist's Guide to Heartbreak. This one had gotten suggested to me, and then Audible told me that something on my wish list was like available to listen to, so I listened to it. And it ended on a cliffhanger, so I listened to the next one. This is a duology. So An Optimist's Guide to Heartbreak, and then the second one is A Pessimist's Guide to Love. And I was kind of like, about the first book, and then it ends on a cliffhanger, so you kind of want to know what's going to happen. But after reading both, I didn't care for them. So, you know, that's the thing with books or any kind of media. Somebody's favorite thing is just really not going to work for you. The reason why this didn't work for me, it was kind of like a second chance romance, but the male main character, he was just rude. He was just rude the whole time. And you find out as you go along, like, why he's like that and why he just like pushes everybody away. And it's understandable, but it just wasn't a nice read. He was just really mean to the girl who loves him, and she was just kind and wonderful the whole time. So you just have a total imbalance of human decency, kind of. They both have trauma. They're dealing with different traumas, and they're dealing with them in different ways. And, you know, obviously, if you haven't been through what somebody's gone through, you can't judge how they should or should not be behaving. But for me, when you're reading a love story, I was like, I'm getting the ick from this guy. Like, just be a nice person. So anyway, that one was a no for me. Then I read Blindsided by Karen Slaughter. So this is book 1 in the, I think it's called the Grant County series. So Karen Slaughter, she writes among other things, she writes the Will Trent books, which I've read all of those. I think there's like 11, and I really, really like them. He works for the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, and the series is a lot about trauma, but they're also mysteries. And this series was like the prequel, because it's about the woman that Will Trent meets in his main series. It's about her story. So I'm kind of like I think actually this was maybe one of her very first published books back in 2001 or something. So I'm getting the backstory on that. So if you're interested in Will Trent, this is just kind of like building the universe more. So, okay, I talked to you about reading a trilogy, rereading a trilogy. That one I was talking about was The Cruel Prince. I think it's called the Folk of the Air, or the Air Folk, or something like that. It's The Cruel Prince, The Wicked King, and then The Queen of Nothing. And actually The Cruel Prince was a reread for me, and then I hadn't read the number 2 and 3. And these are young adult romantasy. So you've got fantasy, but there's some romance. And this is Closed Door, book 3. It's like not fully closed door, I don't think, but it's not descriptive of the sexual act, if I can remember right. So anyway, I feel like it's fairly planted in YA territory. So there's some bad language in there a little bit, but for the most part, I feel like it was pretty safe teen read. And it was good. It was good. I'd give it like a 4, but I feel like a lot of people really like the mailman character in this series, and he didn't do it for me. So he's not making it onto Book Boyfriends Part 2. Book Boyfriends Part 2 collection for nail polish is going to come out July. It's the second Friday in July. And season 1, we did Gilbert Blythe, Mr. Darcy, Wesley from Princess Bride. We did Lo from The Book Bride. We did Jacob. It was from another romantic or romance book. I can't remember. It was a romantic comedy. And oh, I think it's Yours Truly. And then we did Cassian from ACOTAR. So you'll have to come back and see who's going to be featured in series 2, but I am excited for that. It's coming out in July. Okay, back on track. Oh, whoops, before I read that trilogy, I read my first 5-star read of the month, which was Tom Lake by Ann Patchett. And the thing that really pushed this to 5 stars for me is this audiobook is narrated by Meryl Streep, and she just did such an awesome job. I mean, obviously, right? But it was the first audiobook I'd listened to that has her narration, and I was just totally captured by the story and by how she narrated it the whole time. I loved it. And she's telling the story of so there's this family. They're on a farm, I think in Michigan. They're on a cherry farm, and it's during lockdown during COVID. So the family is all together and they're not seeing anybody else. And it's, you know, during that time that we all remember when you just were isolated with your people, and that was it. And so she's a mother of 3 young women in their 20s, and they're having her tell stories of her time as a young woman. And she was an actress. She was an aspiring actress at the time. And it was so nice because it was reminding you, you know, of lockdown and what that was like, but it didn't dwell so much on that. It was more about the past, and there's a little bit of a mystery involved, and I just really liked it. So I don't remember who suggested that to me, but if it was you, thank you so much. I loved it. So 5 stars, go read it. I feel like if there was any spice, it was like a 0.5. I think it was mostly closed door. So, or just non-descriptive. My second 5-star read is The Storyteller by Jodi Picoult. This was another one that was free to read for me this month on Audible with my membership. I'd never read a Jodi Picoult novel before. And this one is stories of the Holocaust. So there's like 3 stories going on in this book. Or maybe there's 4. There's 4 perspectives, I think, 4 or 5. Yeah, 5. 2 of them are recounting stories of the Holocaust from opposing viewpoints. And one of them is the granddaughter of one of the survivors, and another one is the viewpoint of a story being written by the woman who survived the Holocaust. It's very interesting. I loved the book. It was so enjoyable. All the narration was so good. The writing was so good. It was heartbreaking. Yeah. I even told my teenager that she needed to read it. I thought it was great. Any sex that happened in this book was closed door. So yeah, for me, it felt like an important read. I really I really enjoyed it. So, okay, and that's the last one that I finished, and I started another free to read right now, which is Elantris by Brandon Sanderson, which was like the first book in his Cosmere, and I hadn't read this one yet, so I just started it. So, that's it. I don't know if you can tell, but I like to read. I always have like 1 or 2 things going at a time. So, I think that's it. I didn't want to forget to mention some of the YouTube channels I've been enjoying lately, and I've been enjoying many more than the ones that I mentioned, but those are just a few that I wanted to highlight today. And I hope you get so much stitchy time in the next 2 weeks, and if you're Stitching Mania, I hope you've been enjoying it. And yeah, I appreciate you stopping by and hanging out with me today, and I will see you back in June. Take care until then. Okay, bye.